Now, I'm here with Syre, who did a video recently that you saw. That was great. We are going to do this one a little bit differently. She had a great idea, and I wanted to try to do a kind of an interview, discussion style conversation about it. And so start us off first, Syre. What's the big idea that you're here to talk about?
So the big idea that I'm here to talk about is that you don't need a huge marketing budget to have a successful marketing campaign. You can actually have a really successful marketing campaign on an affordable budget, and really, honestly, any business can do it.
So I'm going to clarify. When you're talking, people avoid this because they're thinking big money.
Yes.
And define big money in a dollar amount, and then define affordable in a dollar amount for me.
Okay, so a lot of business owners, when they think of marketing, they think of big advertising, so like Super Bowl ads, stuff like that, or high frequency, high volume radio ads, and that's not necessarily, that's just the tip of the iceberg on marketing.
What's a typical cost on something like that? High frequency radio, for example.
So you can do high frequency radio depending on what city you're in. Of course, every city, the pricing's different. But you can do high frequency radio for an affordable price depending on your strategy. I've had clients do full year radio ads for less than $100,000. I've done radio buys as low as $30,000 for a year. It just depends on the city you're in, the people you're wanting to reach, the radio station you're on.
So now you're talking affordable,
right?
So affordable compares to that, and how much is affordable? Like, what are you talking about? When you say affordable, you mean like $5, or do you mean like $1,000?
There's advertising strategies where you can spend $1,000. You can spend a couple $100 and still get results. It depends on your business, the industry you're in, and the city you're in. But there's tons of opportunities. I mean, there's ones I would even say are close to free.
Okay. So if you're facing a small business who has avoided getting into any kind of marketing campaign because they're afraid of the upfront barrier to success, so what would you present to them as a gateway to marketing?
Again, it would depend. If they've never done any marketing before, and say they're like a micro business or a startup company where they don't really have a huge past or they don't have a huge budget, there's stuff as simple. I'm working with a company right now here in Austin, and they do food prep. And so they make meals for people who are wanting to lose weight or are wanting to gain muscle. Depending on what they do, they meet with a nutritionist and they get these meals designed. And they're working on an extremely low budget as far as marketing goes, and they're getting huge results. We just did YouTube videos for them and then threw them on Facebook, and then used that as Facebook advertising. And because most of the people they're trying to meet, their target market are young 20s and 30s. And so they're on Facebook, and that works. Now, that didn't work for every business. I wouldn't recommend that for everyone, but in that particular case, I think they were spending, $25 to $50 per video and getting, 10 to 20,000 views.
Sweet. Okay, so you're talking about not using Facebook advertising, but just creating good content that you put on Facebook.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's one of your options for marketing on a budget.
Yeah.
Is content, post it on social media, and use that as a way to point back to the business.
Right.
Okay, so what's another way?
Okay, so my first background in marketing was in collegiate sports marketing. And you had to be very, very creative. And that's the one thing is if you're going more towards a low budget marketing campaign, you usually have to get a little bit more creative, and it usually also involves a little more elbow grease and work on your part. But I mean, we found crazy ways to market for very inexpensive, everything from canvassing, not just canvassing houses like most people think. Like you could go where your target market is. Then it was college students go across the campus and canvass people's cars.
And by canvas, you mean put out flyers around places?
Flyers,
okay.
Yeah, but that's a really inexpensive way. But a lot of companies, it just it's old school, and they don't think that it would work. But to be completely honest, actually, I was in a meeting with some other partners, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and they had a client up in Canada that did real estate, and I threw out, y'all should canvas, because they had a really low budget, but they were trying to get the whole group to do the same thing. So we had to use like bird dogs to kind of go and, go do it first. And so it looks, this is gonna work. Now everybody do it.
Right.
And so we did canvassing. They hired, I believe they hired some college students, and they just had them canvass neighborhoods, and it ended up being extremely successful, and they implemented it short term across the whole company, so they got their funds up to have a bigger advertising campaign.
So it sounds to me like a couple of the things that you've said so far, that you're viewing these as stepping stones, not as a way of forever marketing your company.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of that's how I see it. I work with a lot of startups. I work with a lot of what I would call micro companies, where you only have a few staff members, usually less than 10. And the thing is, they don't have huge marketing budgets, but a lot of them, when they first get started, they're more focused on sales versus how am I going to get people in the door.
So it seems like the trap that you're solving with this one, could it be that people are stopping doing anything because they're not doing the thing they think they would do if they had a lot of money?
Exactly. Yeah. Like most people, I think of, big advertising. I got to have a ton of money to put into radio or a ton of money to put into TV. And, a lot of the times you can get really good results, especially for a small company that just a little bit of growth is huge. Just doing easier things. And one that I really try to push with my companies of all sizes that I work with as clients is, and I consider this marketing, at least PR, is going out and getting involved in the community. If you start, go get your team together, have them wear a shirt, whether it's a work shirt or just a shirt with your company name on it, or hat or something that identifies y'all as the company, and go participate in walks. That's free. You know what I mean? Go do stuff like that. Or if you really want to get involved, sponsor something, because it looks good on you. So then people trust you more, and it's a really good way to start taking customers, first-time customers, and turn them into relational customers, is when they can see, oh, not only in the money I'm putting towards your business, giving me this product or service, it's also doing good for our local community or internationally. So, I would consider that marketing too. And you can do that for very little money. You can even do that just spending time, in organizations.
All right. So I hear 3 tools that Sarah's given us so far that are easy to implement, if not free. Yeah. Almost. So creating solid content, video or otherwise, that you can put into social media outlets that drive people back to you. The second one was old school marketing is not dead.
Yes.
It's just maybe not the thing that you want to do for the entire lifespan of your business.
Yeah.
And the third one being community involvement is as much marketing as it is becoming a community resource. I think those are all 3 kick butt solutions.
Yeah.
So to take us out, how do you get started on one of these, and how do you pick one? Any tips?
I would start by figuring out your marketing budget, and everybody kind of has their own, formula of how to figure it out. Typically, I would say if you're looking for growth, you need to be spending probably 10 to 15% of your profits on marketing. Not everybody can do that, especially if you're a startup or if you're a micro company. But however much you can spend, as close to that number, I would say do it, because it's something that's going to come back. And if you're doing stuff like content, especially, content is exponential. Like, you can't have enough content. Like, there's always going to be someone out there with more. And if you can get that going, your online SEO, that just explodes. And that's free. But yeah, no, I would say figure out your budget, and roughly I would say 10 to 15% of profits is where you want to start. And then once you have your budget figured out, that's when you need to look more towards, what area is going to work best in the target market I'm aiming for. And so for some companies, you might have like a really young target market you're aiming for, so 20s to 30s, or you might have like a little more of a mid-range where you have like 40s to 60s. It truly depends on your business, your industry, and who your customers are. once you can figure that out, that's when I would break down into, okay, these are my options. Like if you're trying to reach younger people, I would say look into the content for sure. Spread it out on social media because that's the age group that's really active on social media. The mid-range is getting there every year. They're getting a little more active, but the younger people are the ones that are extremely active on those. I would say also with the younger crowd, radio works pretty well. I think they're really, especially with everything going on in the world these days and how a lot of the younger generation is taking on an activist stand, everything from global warming to, you name it. I would say giving back to the community is huge for them as well. If you look at a lot of the videos being shared online, there's stories of, this group of people saved a dog from drowning in a river, or, so that's really, I would watch social media and whatever you see coming up on your news feed, I would almost take that and see how you can translate that into a way to advertise your company. So yeah, whatever restaurant starts doing those little tasty videos first,
Yep.
they're gonna hit it big. You can quote me on that one.
You heard it here. So Roy often says there are two currencies in business, and that there are money and time, right? And so it seems like all of these solutions are replacing money with time for the business owner, right? So the only concern I would have is when you're a startup or a small business, one of the things you have less of than money is time. So how do you address that as a small business owner?
I would honestly make it part of your strategy. Just, like if you're giving back to the community, I would make that part of your strategy. Make it part of your business culture. So, this is what we do, and also, we do this on the side kind of thing. So get the whole staff kind of involved and make it something you're passionate about, especially if you're picking like a nonprofit. So it's not extra work. As far as the other stuff goes, I mean, if you don't have the time to do it, there's very easy ways to find people you can pay a reasonable amount of money to do it, but still save a lot more than if you were choosing other alternatives, like canvassing. If you don't have the time to do it, I would say hire some young people that, trustworthy young people, make sure they do it. But I would say college students, even young adults, Craigslist is a magical place.
It can be, yeah.
It can be, yeah.
Cool. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up.
Okay.
So here's the takeaway that I took away from it anyway. I'm going to present that. If I'm missing something, then finish it off. But first principle, you don't have to go big or not at all or go home.
Yes.
You can do small steps to increase your business income to grow into the larger marketing campaigns, to pick something that's an easy extension of your culture so that you're not burning all of the remaining time and energy that you have, and don't ignore the things that people have done in the past just because the things that people have done in the past.
Yeah, the best marketing campaigns are just if you can find something that's worked in the past and re-engineer it to work for your company. I mean, it's gold.
Perfect. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.